It's Friday, it's Meet the Movie Press. Holy shit, I'm not Jeff. It's like a shit version of Quantum Leap. We've got loads of stuff to talk about, including Ben Affleck turned down The Flash. Let's talk about that.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk, we talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Meet the Movie Press.
So, Jeff is in Sundance. I would say sunning himself, but it's as snowy as fuck there right now.
Sounds like it.
So I'm Jeff this week. You're Simon?
Nah, I'm still Justin.
Okay, cool. Okay, so Justin, let's start out. Where can we find you online?
Kroll JVar, and I'm at Variety.com. You can read all my stuff there, and Kroll JVar on Twitter.
And you can find me at Showbiz Simon on Twitter, Instagram, and This is Simon Thompson on Facebook. So, let's not fuck about. Let's talk about The Flash.
Oh, we're getting right into it.
Yeah,
Happy New Year.
Well, I mean, Happy New Year and all that stuff. But it's kind of, we're mid-month, so
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, well, we had a long weekend.
Yeah,
kind of.
that is true.
I did. I don't know if you
How
got Monday
often?
off.
Yeah, it's kind of working. Did you put your pants on over that 3-day weekend? Or was it?
My mother-in-law was in town, so yeah, I had to put my pants on.
That's no guarantee.
So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
happy to be here now. I'm like
Okay,
loving
cool.
the fact I'm here with you.
pants on, I can guarantee. So was that like a catch-up time? I've done catch-up on movies and TV shows.
Black Mirror and Electric Dreams.
Yeah.
I did. And Black Mirror was better.
I've had to stop watching Black Mirror.
I'm not as big of, but there was. I haven't been as big a fan as Jeff is, who loves it.
Yeah.
There are episodes that are super slow, but yeah, I thought this season they really nailed it. I only had an issue with like one episode, but
Yeah, see, I got to the one where the crocodile.
I liked Crocodile.
Yeah, I loved it, but it freaked me the fuck out, and I was like, I don't think I can watch the rest of the series.
I mean, yeah, it gets
I was like, that's
darker from
really
there.
dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets darker?
Yeah.
Really?
No, that's the darkest one.
How can you get darker than Crocodile?
No, you can't.
Yeah, I mean, I love Riseborough, but I was like, I just don't think I can do this.
No.
I'm going to have to watch something a bit lighter, like, I don't know.
Modern Family or something like that.
I literally actually watched Blackish afterwards.
Okay.
I was like, yeah,
ABC
something a bit
comedy.
lighter, something ABC, something
sitcom.
family. So, The Flash.
Yeah, let's get into that. So
Yeah, a lot of stuff around that this week.
So The Flash, obviously, that they've had a trouble or an issue getting a director. They had Seth Grahame-Smith, who was writing it, and then they wanted to direct, and then they passed on creative differences. Then Rick Famuyiwa came on, and then he left because of creative differences.
Yep.
And then they decided to take their time because Ezra was shooting Fantastic Beasts, the sequel. So they're like, let's just pause for a minute, figure out the DC thing. It's since gone through a whole shakeup with, John Bergow and Jeff Johns taking a back seat, and now Toby Emmerich kind of taking over the studio thing with Kevin Shujahara taking a step back. So, and Toby brought in Wanda for the guy who was over at New Line, who oversaw the It production, to oversee DC. So, I heard, there's an element to this we're going to get to, because it has some interesting parts to it. But pretty much I'd heard last week that this was picking up again. And there was someone in particular I heard they were interested in, and again, we'll get to that part. But they said nothing. We're still taking meetings for Friday, and we'll probably but they'll have a decision soon. Long weekend goes through. Tuesday comes around. I'm immediately asking what the deal is with the one person, and they're like, "We have no idea." Well, it doesn't. It could go one way or the other. Sorry to be vague, but there's the one person is a whole thing. So after lunch, I get a tip that they have their decision. It's not the person I thought it was. It's someone else. I make 2 calls, and it just was one call to my best source on this.
Sure.
And they're like, it's John Francis Daley and Jonathan Goldstein, the guys who did Vacation. They did Horrible Bosses 2, and they did Game Night, all of which happened to be for Toby Emmerich at New Line.
Yep.
Clearly has a relationship. They like them. They have their productions go smoothly. Sometimes the films aren't the greatest, but they
I was going to say production goes smoothly, but the end result is
but that's
not great.
In a film like this, they just want to get it all depends. Like sometimes Vacations, I understood what they wanted there because they had the relationship and the idea. And remember, these guys were close to getting Spider-Man: Homecoming went to John Watts, but Marvel was so happy, like still liked their approach that they had him write Spider-Man: Homecoming. So they have been they have some ties to comic book world. So yeah, they ended up getting broke that, and they're our Flash guys. They're gonna start writing. I'm assuming they're writing it as well because they're writers directors. And they'll get into that. There isn't any release date right now for that, I don't believe. So there's no.
I would imagine 2020.
I don't. There's no slotted in date. I know that for a fact. So I think they have time to get things ready. But now they have the directors. This thing will be in production by the summer.
Okay. So potentially 2019.
Whenever they want it.
Yeah.
Like the thing is, there's no rush.
Right.
So yeah. They ended up getting it. And it's a wait and see because they've never done this type of project, but I'm willing to give them the chance because Toby trusts them. So I think at the very least this film gets into production, unlike the last couple times where they hit a bump in the road.
And I'm assuming that with those guys at the helm, it's going to be something that's slightly more comedic.
And if you saw, with Ezra in Justice League, his role had lighter tones. I think it fits Ezra's style.
And with some of the best stuff in the movie.
Yeah, and they want to keep that kind of lighter tone, even though from my understanding, I haven't read Flashpoint, but from what Umberto has said, it's a darker version. But you could, you can still have that element, but they still want that kind of almost like I wouldn't say Deadpool, but Marvel-esque, like what you get with like Iron Man. Like Iron Man has dark moments, but Downey still brings the lightness. They want that as well. So, and there was, they kind of probably want what Spider-Man: Homecoming was a little bit with like that kind of feel to it. Because I'm assuming Ezra is still in high school, I believe. Like in the movie, he's young. They're playing him at the high school level,
like adults.
He's not Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
So they want probably that component brought in, and that's what Toby. I'm feeling that's what got them the job in the end. It's not only their relationship with Toby, but also the fact that with Spider-Man: Homecoming, it's on a similar feel with the level of demo you're playing with, or the age range. So we'll see.
Which makes sense to tap into that kind of that Marvel.
Yes, it works.
Thing.
And it worked. And what he did, that kind of lightness in Justice League, was what one of the few things people liked. Yeah. So I'm listen. I'm not going to say it's going to be awesome just yet, but I feel like this gets into production, and I don't think there'll be any issues from a production standpoint going.
It was certainly an interesting choice. I mean, when I saw that break, I was surprised.
Mixed.
But
there was mixed people, like and I think it's because this film has had issues that people are just already and right now DC's under fire, so that like people just like taking shots. But like I want to wait and see what they do first. Sure. And now that and they still have game night, maybe that does well. So we'll wait and see. But moving on to the reason why I got into The Flash in the first place is last Thursday I heard that Ben Affleck. There was a Ben Affleck conversation.
And people are talking about this in the chat, by the way.
The Affleck.
They're talking about it, yeah.
Good. Was told that there was a conversation about Affleck directing. I got the tip Thursday. I made some calls. And from what I found out, that Warner's did want him. I don't know. Everybody's different. Like some people were like, Ben is definitely something to be looked at, but they're still taking meetings. And from my understanding was they were taking meetings because they're like Ben was on the fence. Yeah. And they wanted to cover their ass. But here's the thing: is if Ben Affleck is even, from my understanding, what I found out, and Umberto kind of followed this up, is that this was an opportunity for they had this good idea. He would come in, and there's been rumors that Flashpoint would be the last time he would be the Cape Crusader. Yeah, and this would give him the opportunity to do his own swan song in a way. And also, he's not the main player, so where with the Batman, he had to step away because he'd be acting and directing so much. This one, he'd be more of a side player in that film, so he could focus on the directing. Sure. It seemed so good that on Thursday I was prepared to write that he was the top choice to direct. Okay. That story to me was there. And someone was like, "We'll have more of a can you just wait and we'll have more clarity?" I was like, "Sure," and I'm glad I did because I checked in again on Tuesday, and at this point both sides were like, "We don't know." It seemed like he was wavering. At some point, I don't know, and I said and. Once I heard Francis and Daly, Warner's and people, several people from Warner Bros. Side and several people from Ben's side said he passed. And that can mean a lot of things. That could mean you take yourself out of the running. It doesn't mean
the deal wasn't quite right. Yeah,
he could have been offered. Like he could have also just called up and been like, Toby, you probably should move on. Like when you do that, it doesn't mean you're necessarily offered. But he just was like. But that said, let's be clear here. There is no comparing Ben Affleck, who's directed an Oscar-winning film, to Francis and Daly.
No.
They know that. If he's
doesn't. I mean, they're totally, potentially what you would get.
We're getting why
totally different products.
We're going to get to why I'm a little feisty about this.
Okay.
So if he's being brought in, he's not trying to win him over. If he's being brought in, he is they want to offer him it, where like Francis and Daly still have to meet for these things. It's just the way it works. I'm sorry, but like it's not like Affleck was going against David Fincher or something like that. Like that's just the case. So whatever it may be, I wanted to own that element of the story. So I put in a sentence or two into the actual story, which is Francis Daly and Goldstein got the directing job. So I move on to the next thing I'm working on. In that time, I break more news, which we'll get into later down the show.
Yeah.
But
it's been a good week for you.
I'm working on something else, and I get a text. I'm not going to say from who, but they're like,
was it Matt Damon?
It wasn't Matt Damon.
Okay,
he looks a little like him. No. They're like Weintraub's throwing shade at your Flash thing. All right, a little background. I think Steve Weintraub, Frosty's been on the show before, editor-in-chief at Collider. I respect.
And we both know him.
I both know him. I know him. You know him a little bit better. But hold on. So I really, he does great things over there. Collider's done a lot of good stuff over there, and occasionally they do break news. I believe it was Steve who broke that Simon Kinberg would be directing Dark Phoenix before anyone. It wasn't Mike Fleming. He was the first one to say that. But that said, he rarely does it. And I think John Campino was also the one that was the first to say that Ben may be wavering on. He may not end up starring in the Batman.
Yeah.
Not Kim Masters or Boris Kidd, who did it months later. So they do occasionally break things. So when I was tipped off that there was shade being thrown, I went to see. I was like, what's it talking about? And here is the tweet from Weintraub. Been offline a lot the past 24 hours. Just heard people have been reporting Ben Affleck was offered Flashpoint. According to my sources, that is absolutely not true. Okay, I see this, and he's like, people reporting. I reported it. People picked it up. Let's get that straight. I'm the one that reported it. There's not like various and I understand that for whatever reason people take that element and make it a separate story.
Yep. Which
frustrates me, but I get that you want to rive it up. That I put it in there because it's a big deal, so they wanted to make it their own thing. But I didn't make it. I'm the one that reported it. There was no other people. Let's get that straight. So you're already taking shots at me. And then I didn't know if he saw. And then the thing that added on is he started engaging with these people on his tweet, people being like, well, why was Variety so off base and this and that? And he was trying to be like, well, what did he say? He was like, oh, not sure. Maybe that's what they were told from their source and story, but I trust my sources, so I'm just passing this on. In my realm, this is called poking holes at someone's story, a.k.a. taking a dump on it. And in whatever way, that's the way I saw it.
Yeah.
So what I don't get is it's like, I don't know what he was trying to do here, but in my view, it's disrespecting it. Plain and simple. Why even put it out there?
Yeah.
First of all, it's not the story. Okay, if I had written he was the top choice, last week, and then this ended up happening, then this tweet becomes more prevalent. It makes sense to put it out there.
Yep.
When it was just an element of a story, when I didn't take it out personally, and by the way, he doesn't even go on to talk about Daly and Goldstein. He just moves on. To me, I was like, I don't know if he's trying to be relevant, but I'm not trying to be a dick, but I'm gonna be a dick. I'm the one that's been breaking news on this. I'm the authority. I'm the one who's first of all, it's like a he says thing, because obviously neither of us are going to divulge our sources. But, so if Affleck passes, there's no way to say, or he doesn't, or he wasn't offered, or he is offered. Who cares? There's no way to prove it. It's not like if I said he's the top choice and then it doesn't happen, then you have reason to say, well, like, crap on that.
No, 100%. But also, I mean, we both know that in the industry there are people who we have our own sources in different departments in different areas, whether it's a screening or whatever. And some people will say, "Oh no, that's not the case."
Don't say it then. You can't come out and shit on
it'll
someone's
be because
stuff.
someone else in the same office is then saying to someone else, "Yes, that is the case." So,
but my point is he's never broken anything on the Flash.
Yeah,
so what? Like, so the guy. So I've broken Kiersey Clemens and my stuff's come to fruition, and it wasn't just that. The Warner Brothers and Ben Affleck reported, and then Umberto confirmed my thing.
Yeah,
Boris did too. They were like, Ben Affleck was at the very like, if he's in the mix, he's the one they want.
Yeah.
Then why are you coming after this? Like, I am. Listen, again, this has nothing to do with, like, you know, someone who know, like, I again think he does break news, and had he break news, I would cover it and all that stuff. And also, if there was like a definitive, if he was going after the actual headline, like, Daly and Goldstein didn't get this, I've heard this, and I'm like, well, no, that's not what I'm hearing, and then we can have that argument. He's going after an element that's like, it's just to be relevant almost. It's just like, that's great. Sure, you have sources, but like, when you're saying someone's wrong, he said absolutely not true, why even put that out there? Like, it's like, what basis? How are we supposed to trust you? Like, listen, I work hard at these sources. I do it I'm doing this on a daily basis. It is very hard to break any type of story, let alone stumping on the comic book world, Star Wars, anything where people just don't want to even comment.
Sure.
That's ridiculously hard. So I've had to, and I know in this realm there's agendas and people want things in certain places, but like, bro, like, if you want to jump in the sandbox with me and Sneider and Umberto and Fleming and Boris, be our guest. We love the competition. But you can't you can't be this person who occasionally does it. And Steve has this thing where he's like, because I'm in the know on these things, but because of my relationships with these people, I can't divulge this stuff. That excuse sucks. Like, if you want to be the one to do this, if you want to keep breaking the news, by all means, start doing it, calling your sources, all that stuff. But like, if you're just going to occasionally do it and then just be like, well, I can't do it all the time, it's bullshit. It's just, I'm sorry. Like, and I felt disrespected. I worked too hard, and in all honesty, if you want, like, you're not a gatekeeper. No one was asking for, like, your opinion on this news. Like, for him to just jump off the top rope. Like, it's just like, where is this coming from? Like, why did you feel the need to even do this or put this out there? Because then people are like, oh, Collider debunking Variety. What are you talking about debunking Variety? Daly and Goldstein are still the ones directing this. What does that have to do with debunking Variety?
Yeah.
You're like slandering this stuff. And I guess he can say he didn't mean to do that, but like, why even bring this up if you're not even going to talk about Daly and Goldstein? He just like, and then he went about his business on a tweet. It's just like, if you're going, you absolutely shot down this stuff as if you were like some authority that's been breaking all the Flash news. Like, if like, again this week, Umberto had another great Shazam scoop. Ron Cephas joining.
Absolutely.
He's been all over that thing.
Yeah.
If it was in the same case, he would have a right to jump in. If you've been all over something and you have and clearly your sources are into this, then you'd have a case to come out and say this. When you have never ever even touched on the Flash or anything related to the Flash in terms of this, except picking up stories that I break and putting on the site, I'm sorry, but like, I'm gonna take offense. And in all honesty, what are you doing? Like, it's just absolutely frustrating. Like, again, if he breaks something and does it rightly, if he had said Daly and Goldstein weren't getting this and it came to be true, then he would have a right to be like, look, my sources were correct. There's no way, unless he's going to tell me unless he's going to say Toby Emmerich has told me this or Ben Affleck. Sure. Like, it's his word against mine. So, and it's just so lame. And I touched on it briefly on Twitter. I was like, this is what I was told. I honestly don't care if you believe me or not, but there's no way for me to prove it, but this is it. But it did rub me the wrong way that Steve went out of his way. 24 hours. He did this the next day. It wasn't like immediately, like he like the story broke at 2:30 and at like 4:30 he came out with this. He just waited. At that point, just don't say anything. or go on Collider Video and be like, well, I actually had heard it was differently and explain it. But just to whimsically throw that tweet out there so that Collider's got a big following. All those guys are all the Collider people are suddenly like, well, Variety's wrong, Collider's right. For whatever reason, because they trust Steve. They don't think he would just out of nowhere just go about this. It's just, yeah. I'm gonna get crap for this. I don't care because I was just like, I'm sorry. At the end of the day, I'm the one breaking news all the time. I do it on a regular basis, and if you're gonna come at me, I'm gonna be like, stay in your lane. Like,
no, I don't think it's a case
he's more than welcome. Like, I relish the competition.
I don't think it's a case of stay in your lane. I think it's a case of if you want to and this is the same for anybody in the industry. If you want to discredit something that someone else is saying, then bring something of credit.
That's the thing too.
To the argument.
If he had
and
if
that
he had
goes
said
for anybody.
other people had met,
Yeah.
or like he didn't even bring a new news element. He just said not true. Well, why should we believe you? That's my biggest thing. Is like, what are you basing this on? Like, that's the Umberto thing. Like, Umberto breaks a lot of Shazam news. If he came out and said, I hadn't heard so-and-so was up for this role or something like that, then, like, it's like, oh, wait, Umberto's been all over that makes sense. He's broken, like, he said nothing about Flashpoint. He just whimsically, like, the way he came about it was
but also,
like,
I mean,
he's like the gatekeeper or something.
Also, Umberto can be wrong.
Sure.
So it's not.
We all can be wrong.
Not
no.
yeah, absolutely.
Not,
sometimes
like,
we call the wrong shots.
I've been wrong on stuff too.
Yeah.
My point being here is there's no way to figure out if one is wrong or not.
Yeah.
Like especially when it's like he was absolutely in the mix. Offers or not, like arguing semantics is a whole different thing. Sorry, I'm getting away from the microphone.
So with Affleck, was it a case of him being offered and walking away, or him?
It's vague.
Was it? Yeah.
The more like
because that's
Thursday,
something people are talking about
like,
this week.
On Thursday, from his it sounded like he was somewhat interested. By the time Tuesday came along, it's just like you sleep over it over the weekend. And you just realize, you know what, I've decided not to direct the Batman. I don't want to direct anything in this world. That might be the case. There was no explanation. It was just like he
seems to be separating himself from the DCU.
Yeah, I mean, Brent Lang reported that the Flashpoint would probably be the last time he is Batman, and again, Umberto and me both thought the same thing, that the reason it made sense. And that was the other thing too, is like people just being like, well, when I saw this, like they were just saying stuff based on like what this project is and not what they had heard from like a legitimate source. It was like, God, this has nothing to do with it. But like the opportunity for him to like create his exit like in his own way, because they still want the Ben Affleck relationship.
Yeah,
we'll see. Yeah, I mean,
is he going to stay on as Batman? I mean, what are you hearing?
Wait a second.
With Batman, is he going to stay on?
Dude, it's.
I mean, I think he's
to be fair, I honestly don't know. I've talked to people I will say, people at the agencies rep by, still it's his. Still are under that impression. They've given me no sense that he is.
So if he chooses to walk away, that will be Ben's choice rather than him going.
Yes.
Rather than Warner going.
Absolutely.
Okay, we're done.
It's not like Matt Reeves is not going to just cut the cord here. He has that like he came in after the fact, not before the fact.
Yeah.
Listen again. Weintraub does a lot of good things. The Collider, as since I've been around, has only gotten upped its game big time, and they do break news, but they just Jeff and Umberto and those guys, like like their sources, like I'm just sorry, like for you to come out of the women, just if you're gonna shoot holes on my story, I need to know that you're doing this on a regular. This is your gig, is to break news.
Shoot a hole but plug it.
Yeah.
Shoot a hole but plug it.
To just plug in like that, it's just like it pissed me off.
Okay, let's see what people are saying in the chat.
Yeah, I'd like to.
Westy Kid is saying that Simon has a great storytelling voice, which is nice. I got told this week that I can actually read porn.
Like audiobooks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is
like 50 Shades of Freed or something
fuck
like that?
it if it pays. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind.
Be easy to do. It's like voiceover work.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've done that.
Go in 2 hours, you're all
absolutely. Ben Affleck, this is from Zeno Hour. Ben Affleck did say they were working on something cool for his Batman exit back in November. This could be what he was talking about, potentially.
Who knows?
That would fit in. I mean, that's purely speculation right now. Gregory Castillo, just call him and ask him what's up. I mean, people talking about Steve. Who does Frosty work for again? Is it Collider, or am I wrong? It's Collider.
He's editor-in-chief.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
because
he's not a bad guy. But
I don't have an issue with him.
I just think in the industry generally, if you're going to shoot holes in something, you should plug it. have something to bring to the table.
Well, he didn't even he said people reporting. He was like, he didn't even directly, when Umberto is challenged, or Jeff or something, they say Justin is wrong or something like that. He was like, I see people reporting it's just random people.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Donald Trump, people are saying.
It's the person you're picking up. It's the person who you're taking his news when he breaks it and putting it on your site all the time. That's who it is. It's not just some random blog. It's variety.
So,
Justin Kroll.
The Flash is not the only thing that we've had as big breaking news this week. Let's talk about Leo.
Oh, yeah.
The Tarantino Manson movie. Mm-hmm. That was big news early this week.
It was. So ever since this has been coming along, his name's been linked to it, along with Tom Cruise and Margot Robbie.
And people thought he wouldn't take it. I mean, even right from the very beginning, there were a lot of people going ooh, I don't know if he'll do that kind of thing. Is that the project he'll do next? Or not quite sure.
You mean commenters or something like that?
Yeah, just sort of...
I mean, they had no idea. He has a relationship with him going back to Django Unchained, and he was definitely considered. He specifically works with certain people, Marty, Alejandro, Quentin. He doesn't really just going to new people necessarily.
He also does Unhinged spectacularly well.
Yes, of course.
Really, really well.
And who knows what exact he's not Manson. He's some aging actor. I believe Fleming mentioned that he was someone who had a TV show, and it was coming to the twilight of his career. So we'll see how that plays in. Yeah, I heard before Christmas he had actually made his decision to do it. He had slotted his schedule up. Other things were not planned. He wanted to do something next year. And I'm also hearing Cruise is also probably. I said that last week. It was Brad Pitt too. I've since heard Brad Pitt is not going to probably be doing it, and that Cruise would be getting that other role. But yeah, and then I also heard this week
in the same film.
What?
In the same film,
Cruise in the Tarantino film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, it'd be great to see Cruise in a Tarantino film. And then I've also heard Pacino, that he wants Pacino in a supporting role for it.
Nice.
He's written a role specifically for him. We'll see. That's, again, we don't know where that stands necessarily. But again, he's never worked with Al, so that would be awesome. If he worked with Al and Tom for the first time, it'd be great.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was other things. I think this means he's probably not going to be Todd Phillips' Joker, as it was reported. I don't who knows, but again, we don't know where that film stands. But some of the Marty stuff he was looking at, that may push. So yeah, this will be his next film. I believe it shoots either spring or June. Starts in summertime.
But not the only person to be cast as Manson this week. Obviously, Matt Smith
too. And I talked to Jeff. He's like, I don't even know what that film gets made. Yeah. It's I
mean, I can see both of them doing really good Mansons, very good interpretations.
There was the Steve Jobs thing with Ashton Kutcher and the Danny Boyle, but do we need multiple Manson things? That's just we just had it in American Horror Story. They touched on in Cult.
Yeah, I mean, Manson seems to be really hot right now
because he died. Yes, I get that.
And also, Waco seems to be something that, I mean, I've lost track of.
There's the TV series Waco, and then there's the Annapurna thing, yeah.
Yeah, and also there's so many docs that I'm seeing on, Nat Geo.
Well, it's all the money in the world, right? Or the John Paul Getty thing. There's all the money in the world, and there's trust. So, yeah, sometimes these things, people...
They go in waves.
Once one gets greenlit, the other people are like, well, I got it, my own version. We should get ours up and running, too.
We kind of have that. Why do you think, actually, that we have these waves of topic movies? We had it with the Boston bombings.
OJ, too.
Yeah, OJ.
On the TV's end, but yeah, OJ.
Yeah, we kind of get these...
I think people were ready. It's like 9/11. People thought it was ready to do those types of films. Or like Vietnam. With random subjects like this, I don't honestly know. Sorry.
Because they're kind of like buses. You wait for one...
Well, the one thing is what can you do? I mean, with all the money in the world and trust, the John Paul Getty stuff, by the looks of it, you can expand it more. And with trust, it's a lot of stuff prior to his kidnapping, where all the money in the world is just his kidnapping on. That's all they're doing.
Yeah.
So, I actually think it makes sense when you're talking film to TV, because it's just, you can do more on episodic TV. There's 8 hours compared to hour and a half to 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
But films are weird. But again, remember, that Matt Smith one is probably more of a biopic or real life. This is like his Inglourious Bastards, where it's like Tarantino history, we can call it.
Sure.
And again, it's
embellished
set during the summer of the Manson murders. From what I understand, Charles Manson is like what Adolf Hitler is in Inglourious Bastards.
Well, I was going to say,
super small role.
Because Zeno Hour is asking in the chat. Okay, so he's confused about the movie. Is it about the 1969 Hollywood, Or is it about Manson murders? Could it be
No one
multiple
really knows.
interconnected stories like Pulp Fiction?
Pulp Fiction. It's like that.
Yeah.
But with the Manson somehow playing into it. I honestly, again, do not know. It's still secret of how this is going to play out. We won't know until a trailer probably.
Yeah.
Or as more people get roles. But yeah, it's not. It's not they will be different in that way. So you could do those because of the way they're doing it. The one is just like Manson is more of just like a setting in a way.
Sure.
Where the other one is he is the story.
So how's this going to fit with Tarantino? With obviously the Star Trek movie that we all kind of thought was bullshit first of all, but it does appear to be.
It's in development.
Yeah, I mean, it does appear to be moving forward. How far forward that goes, we don't know.
It doesn't. It's as relevant as like those Kill Bill sequels he talked about back in 2000s.
Right.
Like that, he does this from
But
time to
18
time.
months ago, he was like, "I've decided what my last film is going to be," and then there's like, "Well, there's other things that he's working on."
All I'll say is he has never not written his own thing. For him to just have someone write something, and it's going to be all these semantics. They're developing it. I'll tell them that much. But with JJ and Star Trek or Star Wars right now, and him and the Manson thing, I just don't know. And who knows what becomes of Paramount and what Jim Giannopoulos ends up doing.
Yeah.
A year from, I will say this: it pretty much just killed it. We'll see that Chris Hemsworth Star Trek thing that they were trying to do.
Yeah.
Where they bring him back. If anything, I believe, maybe in 2 or 3 years. I can't imagine this is his, like, he's always said he's going to do 10 films. This is his 9th, the Manson thing. If he wants to do something that's not original as his last film, we'll see. But
I would be very surprised.
I would too.
If Star Trek was his 10th film and he's like, cut it off.
Without him writing the script, I just don't take it credibly because he's just so hands-on when it comes to that stuff.
It would also be completely out of character.
But I will
for
say,
Tarantino.
I believe it more than what Jeff thought about it when it was first announced because they have a writer. They have someone who's actually writing the script.
I'll be honest with you, I did not think it was going to go much further than like, Tarantino's made one comment in an interview.
It seems so odd, especially on the heels of the Manson stuff coming out. So
yeah.
So
let's talk about Tessa Thompson apparently being lined up for the new Kick-Ass. So if they do another Kick-Ass movie, this is from Mark Miller, apparently during an interview this week, saying that Tessa Thompson could be the new Kick-Ass. I don't think that is a franchise that's going anywhere.
I'm glad you said it.
Yeah. I mean, nobody was really interested in Kick-Ass 2. That is kind of, I think the first film was good. It was fun. And I think it did make people look at comic book movies in a slightly different way. I do not see that as a franchise that is either going forward or going forward in a new way.
I've heard Tessa for other things. Not that
she's talking to a lot of people right now.
Yeah, she's hot in the streets, and she's also got Creed coming out, the sequel to that soon too, which we'll talk about in a minute. I mean, whenever it's like, whenever these comic book creators or what start, it's like talent almost. Like until like what studio is that at right now? Is Kick-Ass I doubt Universal's making another Kick-Ass or is Lionsgate. The second one just didn't do hot enough. And I feel like, I mean, it's kind of run its course. I feel like unless they do like a TV show maybe, and she's not going to TV anytime soon. No. Well, I think that actually did on Westworld. So. I don't know. It all depends. Sure she'd be great. Like to me, you can't do Kick-Ass without Chloe Moretz's character, which made that film up.
I mean, for me, if they are going to take that forward, that would be the logical way to take it forward, is with her character, rather than taking it a completely new way with new characters. I wouldn't really.
Yeah. How do you? Set
unless Chloe was the lead and then Tessa's character was a.
I still think she's the lead in a way.
I just don't see that happening. Does Chloe really? I mean, I like Chloe, but does she have box office collateral now? A lot of her stuff is going.
I mean, it's hard to judge
under the radar.
Young person. I like box office collateral. I feel like you get more. She's getting lead roles and all that stuff, but Carrie didn't do amazing.
The fifth wave.
Fifth Wave didn't do great at all.
Bomb.
No, I mean. But like people still like her to work with, so like I still with Kick-Ass you'd still bring her back. That's still her franchise in a way, and that's what people are showing up for. So we'll see.
Okay, so you were talking about Creed and Tessa. Let's talk about that.
Good segue.
Thank you so much. I've done this before. So we found out this week that someone is going to play Creed's son, Florian Montaganu?
Let's call him Florian.
Yeah,
I'm not going to mess with that
Florian. I am not familiar with him. Apparently, he's a
Romanian boxer.
It's
I think the guy from Creed 1 was a boxer too, the British guy,
sure.
and
but also a terrible actor.
Well, it's a boxer, and then Rocky Balboa, the guy Antonio Carver, was a boxer.
Yeah.
So that's a smart play because again, I liked it. I mean, I love this idea of the Drago, like of bringing back Ivan, of doing the son, of like the guy that killed his father, like in the ring. I love that element. And I'm excited for Steve Caple to take over. There was rumor Stallone might direct. I'm glad he's just going back to the acting element. And it makes sense. Early on in the Rockies, they were doing Apollo Creed, Mr. T, Dolph. I like they're doing actual boxers because I imagine Florian is not someone that will be talking. Like if he's like if he's like Ivan was just like punching the bag, be like, whatever he kills, he crushes, or whatever he hits, he destroys. I'm sorry, I messed that up. So yeah, it makes sense to get someone who's already trained, and looks like they want the reality of that in the ring and all that stuff. So yeah, this is coming together nicely after kind of stalling a little bit, but I'm glad now that they're focused on it because the first one was amazing, and I love this idea of the Drago. Like they can do a lot with that. I feel like
Harry in the chat is saying that Creed 2 should not happen without Ryan Coogler, and they should have hired the actor who played Victor Crumb in Harry Potter GOF as Ivan's son.
That's a bad. I like Florian. If you've seen, he's a badass.
Yeah. Sport is not my area.
Coogler is involved with this. He's an expert.
Yeah.
He's busy with Black Panther. Like,
yeah.
And he, in all honesty, if he wanted it, they would have gave it to him. I don't think 100%. Anybody would. So if it's up to him. Like, I disagree with that. You are more than like, especially if they're doing kind of a similar route by giving a young up and coming director the opportunity of color as well, which I like that they're like, you know, that while this is Creed, it's Michael's story and it started with Ryan. Let's continue that and that viewpoint and that direction and vision. I feel like, I mean, it was by this, folks. Stallone was originally going to do this, and MGM was like, guys, let's, you know what, Sly, let's have you star still. But I think, and even come up with a story. But we think this would be a better directing thing.
Sure.
So I disagree with the Coogler thing. I love Ryan. I think I'm looking for a lot to Black Panther. But yeah, he's still going to be involved, but I don't necessarily think you always have to direct something.
No, I think you're right.
Everybody thought Jon Favreau should come back and do Iron Man 2, and Iron Man 2 is the worst Marvel movies.
Iron Man 2 sucks.
So,
Absolutely
clearly shows
sucks.
that just because bringing someone back, especially if you're rushing him back, doesn't always equal good results.
Yeah. Let's talk about Bad Boys.
Let's both Bad Boys things.
Absolutely. Okay, so Gabrielle Union, the TV spin-off appears to be...
Let's do the film thing with Bruckheimer first.
Okay, so I caught up with Jerry Bruckheimer recently. I say caught up. We didn't have like
good
brunch.
Old friends.
Yeah, we go.
From Michigan, by the way.
Jerry.
Big Red Wings, yeah.
Yeah, so we had a nice little chat recently about 12 Strong. And I was asking him, because obviously there are a number of franchises that he is involved with. Beverly Hills Cop, National Treasure. There's a lot of talk around that. And I asked him about not only Top Gun 2,
Top Gun 2, yeah.
Recently had a chat with Tom Cruise. That is still moving forward. There is no start date on that, but it is still very actively
They have a director, so
they have a director.
That's the furthest they've
They
gotten.
are definitely having
Joe
conversations
Kosinski.
about that. Yeah, absolutely. So that is definitely moving forward in a very positive way. No start date on that.
Cruise is still involved with the Mission Impossible movie right now. So.
Absolutely. He's actually filming that some stuff in London right now.
So that's why that's still what it is.
Yeah.
But go on, sorry.
And so we were talking about Bad Boys because there's been a lot of talk around Will Smith, and Will Smith doesn't want to do it and stuff like that. According to Jerry, actually, that is still on track. They are still having conversations about doing a Bad Boys with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. That is not something that is dead. They are still having active conversations about that. Because a lot of people have reported that that's kind of like...
It seems like the three of them want to do it.
Yeah.
A lot
of it is down to scheduling, according to Jerry.
So this is important. Those three want to do it.
Yeah.
Does this? And then what's weird is Tom Rothman, when he took over, he immediately put those films on the slate.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay. He seemed behind it. And
at one point, we had a release date.
With 2 release dates. We had one for the third one and a fourth one they were looking at. And for whatever reason, they've gone through directors. Joe Carnahan was looking at it once past, and they seemed close, and then it just hasn't been able to like get to that point where the studio that's the thing, is they need a studio to really get behind this.
Yeah.
Whether it's Sony or whether they just take it somewhere else, I don't know. I feel like, you guys touched on this last week when the news I broke with Brent Lang about Will Smith taking his Overbrook Entertainment, which had been at Sony for more than a decade.
Yeah,
they're going they're not upping their deal again. That seemed to signal to me that like some of the Sony stuff might not be happening as much, especially after Earth and Concussion flopped and didn't do as well as the studios had hoped. That maybe that relationship had not done as well. So I don't know. And it feels like this Bad Boys thing was the final straw. Like this not really getting pushed out and Will having to do other things like Bright and now Aladdin and what looks like Gemini Man and Suicide Squad. Yeah, I did hear the other day they want to do August for Bad Boys supposedly.
Yep.
We'll see if that happens. I until this film's in production, I have a tough time believing it'll move forward. But that is something I had heard this week, that they still are looking at an August start date, and we'll see what happens.
Well, I mean, when I spoke to Jerry about a number of projects, because obviously National Treasure is in there as well, and there has been talk about doing another National Treasure movie. The National Treasure was the one that he was like, there's not really a lot of movement on that. That's very much on the back
with
burner.
Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, but the fact that he was so sort of push positive on this other stuff. It obviously, Bad Boys 4. I mean, the title Bad Boys Forever has been bandied around, which is
Bad
terrible.
Boys for Life.
Bad Boys for Life. Yeah. It's terrible. I mean, that sounds like a shit boy band.
I think it was in the sequel. Like they used that line all the time, so I thought it'd be cool.
It's not cool.
I'm with you. Just Bad Boys 3. Just do that.
Bad Boys 3. So that is genuinely something that Jerry is. It's on his to-do list.
And then other Bad Boys news.
Absolutely. Gabrielle Union doing the TV spin-off. Is that again is moving forward, which I'm wondering if that is then going to feed into.
Let me ask a question.
The movie, yeah.
Why is Martin Lawrence not doing this spinoff?
I don't know. It's not like he's fucking busy.
What is he doing?
I don't know.
He came up in the TV world. This seems perfect.
Yeah.
Like, do they not want him in there? Is there like...
I just don't know.
Is it like a Me Too thing because of what happened on the Martin show? Because I think he had harassment charges. Like, is it something along those lines? Or, I mean... He's not working much anymore.
No.
This seems like a perfect thing. Gabrielle Union's a good draw.
He's like a non-white David Spade. It's not like he's busy.
Exactly. Like I'm sorry, but Gabrielle Union was brought in the sequel. Bad Boys is Martin Lawrence and Will Smith. And if you have one of the actors who's not really that busy and not what you'd call a movie star anymore, bring him in for this.
I was looking at the poster for Bad Boys the other day.
How do you connect
it was Martin Lawrence,
How do you
Will
sell
Smith.
This? How do you sell this show without those two?
I mean, you sell it because it's a female lead. I think that is the hook this time.
Sure, but like no one even remembers her name in the show. Mike Lowry, I remember from Bad Boys.
Mike Lowry.
And what was his name? Was it Martin? Was his name Martin?
I think so.
In Bad Boys, but you remember their names. I don't even like. They need some.
Can I get a cup of brown sugar?
Joe, what's his name?
Pantoliano?
Yeah, I'd even take him in there somehow. Like, just Gabrielle Union, who was not even in the first one, not even both films. Where's Martin Lawrence? I have no problem with the spinoff. It makes sense. I'd even take a spinoff, like how they do with Lethal Weapon, where it's not Mel Gibson, Dan Glover, it's Damon Wayans, and I watched this, I forget the guy's name, Chase something. I actually enjoy that. Mm-hmm. And they did the same, and then Training Day they did with Bill Paxton and that new guy. You do that with Bad Boys, but just grabbing Gabrielle Union, who was not a bad boy. She was like, where's Martin Lawrence? Like, if they teamed them up, like Bad Boys with Martin Lawrence and Gabrielle Union, that'd be great too. Sorry.
No, it's true. I mean, but I think there is I think we're desperately lacking, and we'll get to this with the box office stuff. We're desperately lacking really good action movies right now at the box office. Desperately lacking that.
So,
and I think
look at this month.
I mean, I just think that if we had a Bad Boys movie, it would be really good. And Will Smith needs a hit.
Yeah.
He really needs a box office bona fide hit.
He needs a
Will Smith movie that's a hit.
Movie theater hit.
Yeah.
Which is why I think he did Aladdin. And Gemini Man heating up to that. News broke on that Mary Elizabeth Winstead's going to be his female lead and Clive Owen's going to be the villain in that. Gemini Man, the Ang Lee movie he's doing next. which sounds cool. Him doing an Ang Lee movie, action movie, that could be awesome. And that's kind of what he's hoping to get out of that. But yeah, I agree with you. Like, Bright, while those 11 million views, they say, and that's a huge deal, and that's a big win for Netflix, the film wasn't well received. I think Variety was the only person that really liked that movie.
Zeno Hour is saying, isn't Suicide Squad 2 filming in August, September? Yes, it is. Currently, that's on the slate.
No, it's not like...
Has that changed?
Well...
Because I understood that was going to be...
From who?
Q3, Q4 this year.
There wasn't no set thing. Did Jeff say that? That's with those schedules. I mean, it could, but there's no like. It's not like like Hobbs, the Dwayne Johnson thing. Yeah. That's set to go in August. There's no set production date right now, especially with DeLuca just coming on. So,
and also Harry saying Harry Kowalczyk is saying that John Wick 2 was the last great action movie. Yeah, I agree with Harry on that. I mean, that's the balls against the wall, proper, just proper, not like just going all out action, not like a movie with action in it. That was a old school 80s, 90s action movie, just action.
I agree.
Story second. Absolutely agree with that. Okay, so that's Bad Boys. Let's talk about the fact that Paddington 2 did not do well at the box office.
You want to do box office stuff right now?
Yeah, let's talk about box office. Paddington 2 came in 7th place at the box office at the weekend, 10-point-something million. Not a great return on that, unfortunately. But it maintains the best reviewed film of all time on Rotten Tomatoes, still maintaining that 100%.
The original?
Yeah. No, Paddington 2. Why are audiences not going after Paddington 2? Because Paddington had
Because they're seeing the other Christmas stuff. Greatest Showman, Pitch Perfect, Star Wars, Jumanji. They're seeing Jumanji.
Well, I mean, Jumanji and Greatest Showman, we were talking about this before the show. They're doing really, really well. The legs. Yeah, they've got legs.
They've had word of mouth. That's the thing is, like, there just hasn't been enough talk about this.
Yeah.
Like, the marketing, it's just, you need that when you have a film like that that's coming out as quickly as it did in the new year.
Yeah.
It's just the sequel.
And it was a late acquisition by Warner.
Sure. So
late at the end of last year because of the Weinstein thing.
That's affecting it, I feel like, a lot. Sorry. I was with you when what was the prediction? Like, you thought it would be in the 20s? And I thought the same thing.
I thought it was 22, maybe 25. I thought
Jumanji.
It would be
Jumanji is playing to families right now. It's very clear that that's the case.
Yeah.
And they're picking that over Paddington. That's just the flat out and Showman. Those two things are playing to younger crowd, to the family or younger crowds. And that's what's getting like Greatest Showman made less than 20 in 3 days over its opening weekend. Has now crossed the $100 million mark. That's a huge deal. We had Jeff on here pretty much like there was no thought that was a huge flop on its way.
I mean, I like that movie. I love that movie.
It was okay. I liked some of the music scenes. The story itself, I didn't think was that awesome. But I mean, the one thing that's kind of the international play hasn't been great. We'll see if it can get to like 300, 350. But domestically, people have shown up for that. It still like has the legs. And it's over, and it's past Pitch Perfect 3, which had its
yeah.
And I think that's the case. And people are seeing Pitch Perfect 3 as well. Like, I just think that there's just a lot of stuff for families to see right now. Even though there's The Commuter and Den of Thieves and 12 Strong, there's still a lot of that holiday stuff people are going to. The film that's really struggled through all this is All the Money in the World. Yeah. That thing has just got crushed.
Yeah. I mean, I was quite surprised by the fact that no one's really, even with the talkability and the news value around it, people have just not engaged with that movie at all.
I was surprised it didn't do better that opening weekend. Yeah. I was like, for some of the other stuff that hopped it, the fact that Greatest Showman actually beat it, I was pretty surprised by, because I figured that, like, at the very least, that would jump that. Like, people would go see that before Showman.
So let's look at box office this weekend. There are 2 big movies opening. I mean, I say big. I mean, they're not exactly stellar movies.
12 Strong's.
12 Strong is going to go. Is the widest of all of them. Thursday it took $900,000, so that's under the million mark, which is unfortunate. That's looking at a 15 million weekend. Den of Thieves, $9 million. That took 950,000. So that wins on the Thursday previews. I reviewed both for IGN this week.
I saw 12.
I did not love either.
I didn't love 12 Strong is probably the worst war movie I've seen in a while. It's like it was poorly directed for the most part. A lot of those actors had Trevante Rhodes and Pena had hardly anything to do.
Trevante was horribly wasted.
Absolutely
wasted.
It's pretty much like
movie.
Hemsworth. Like there's half the film they're not even together. They're like split up.
Yeah.
There's like it's a war movie, but
and they comment on that.
There's a war movie, but like. Also, the whole like it's just such a slap in the face when they're like, we're gonna get victory in 3 weeks and we're still there now. It's just like, ugh. Usually I don't like focus on that, but it is tough right now with that. And also like there's like in these action scenes, a lot of the scenes they're just watching bombs drop while he's talking trash to the like that villain.
It felt like a terrorism travelogue.
Well, it's like a weird act. Like so our Variety reporter described it as like a video game. You go to level to level. Like there's like they're just watching, and the villain is like super lame. They like build him up to be. Villains in war movies are the worst. Like there's no point in having them. Like when it's like invisible, like Hurt Locker or Dunkirk or something like that. It's war. The villain is did you get a sense like every time they went in there, the Americans were like invincible? Like they're riding all these like random like Afghan soldiers just get blown
have tanks and stuff like that, and they're like on a fucking horse.
And these guys barely get touched. They get like knocked off their horse. It's like a little concussion.
I got shot in the knee.
And then they're
like, really?
No, there's not even that. It's like flesh wounds and all that stuff. I don't know. But I do think. I thought it would this box office is surprising because I thought it'd have an American Sniper effect. Like the Rust Belt, the Mid America would really eat it up because of the rah American.
Well,
feel.
It's really interesting the whole Rust Belt thing because Paddington 2 is another film that actually really played to that. There was a lot of, I mean, I know the director Paul, and he did a lot of stuff for that Middle America. Christian media, family stuff, and they just did not turn out.
Sure, that's fair. I still think with like soldiers and like respecting like the military, those people like films like this, like people feel like, well, I have to go see this to pay my respects.
But also, I mean, there appears to be a change in tide on these movies, like Stronger. Which I thought would have got absolutely
I blame the marketing of Lionsgate more than
jingoistic, like. Fuck yeah, gung-ho crowd, I thought would have gone absolutely mad for Patriots Day and also Stronger.
Yeah.
Just didn't turn out.
I feel like that's a little different because it feels still close to home. 12 Strong is like 17 years since 9/11, and this is like is the battle that defeats the Taliban type thing. But
also,
we'll see. I still think it could do maybe 20. But again, it's I think had A Lone Survivor 2 was another film that did like just the action is better, is more intense, and they're like getting shot and stuff like that.
I did not love that movie, but the action in that movie was better than this movie.
I love Lone Survivor. But back to this, it's just it's sloppy too. Like the actual action scenes, like I didn't know who was being shot at or what the plan was. It was so like weirdly concocted. Yeah, I don't know. And I think if Jumanji and some of those films weren't still doing well, this might have a shot that, like the way American Sniper just crushed. I think maybe, but I just feel like people are like, I'd rather go see that than this thing right now.
I mean, I just felt that there were certain times you talk about.
And I do feel like the landscape in the country maybe affects the box office as well.
I think so. But I think the villain in 12 Strong reminded me, it was awful. I was watching it and I was like, it's kind of like the villain in Team America. Just the way that he was portrayed.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
I was like, this is stereotypical Taliban. The whole thing felt a little bit too much like Team America. And a terrorism travelogue than a
character than like and an actual like.
But when the US military were together, I thought the banter between all of them, the camaraderie between all of those guys, was actually really good. I just think there was Chris, there was Michael, and then there was everybody else. Trevante was horribly wasted. You obviously had like Michael Shannon, who did a great job.
Michael Pena barely like.
It was
feel like at times
they didn't
that
have
some
enough
of those
to chew on.
Those character actors had more to do than like the stars that are in the bill, like in the advertising and stuff like that. I was like the Trevante stuff between this and him doing like the same type of role. It sounds like in The Predator. That guy needs to be getting like major leading roles. He was great in Burning Sands, the fraternity hazing movie on Netflix later this year or this past year. Obviously, he was great in Moonlight. Yeah, he needs a better. He just needs. There's stuff out there for him. People
he was
seem
completely
to really,
wasted.
People really seem to like him. Let's find something.
Let's talk about Den of Thieves. That is a movie that it's 2 hours, 20 minutes long.
When you told me that, I was blown away.
I literally went. I had to see this twice in the last 10 days.
Christopher Nolan directed it or something like that.
I mean, fuck. I went in thinking it was like 90 minutes. IMDb, like you Google it, it's like 90 minutes. 2 hours, 20 minutes long. There is a good 90-minute movie in this.
It's like a Heat.
Well, it's Heat, but as I said on IGN, it's not. It wants to be Heat, but it comes off as lukewarm. You know, it wants to be a little bit of Usual Suspects. It wants to be a little bit The Town. It wants to be many things. It's not there. Gerard Butler is very, very happy with this movie. He is really pleased that he did it. He loves this movie. This is not a good movie. I mean, there are literally scenes in this that you could cut, remove, ripple edit, take it along, no problem at all. It is not a good movie.
It's January, though. Like 12 Strong, I just said the other day.
But there's a good movie in there. It's like Lone Ranger all over again. There's a good movie in there.
If there was a good movie in there, it would have been in March or April, I'm saying. Like... This just shows that January is the dumping.
There are moments in this movie. There's where a counterpart to Gerard Butler, where
came out last year.
His boss is like, "Oh, I'm a vegetarian." He goes, "I'm a vegan," and I'm like, "Yeah, but it's completely fucking irrelevant." There's a divorce story which then disappears. There are so many things in this movie that you could literally cut, allude to, or mention, and just take them out, and it would be a slick, nice, good heist movie, which we need.
Looking at the release schedule recently, and I was just like, 12 Strong is the only film I'm going to give a shot, and I'm definitely going to see a screening of it, not pay for it, until Black Panther. Like, it's a month and a half of just trash. Trash.
There is, I mean, Den of Thieves.
1517 to Paris. I'm very excited for
I'm
Really?
Yeah, I'm a little bit on the fence on that one.
Why? Because it's just they're not actors; they're the real people.
Yeah, I'm from the trailer.
Sure.
It could be a good movie done badly. I don't know which way that's going to go. I'm going to go into it with an open mind, but I'm a little bit on the fence. If you went and saw Den of
Thieves, you should definitely go see 1517 in Paris.
Oh yeah, I mean Den of Thieves. I can't believe I had to see that twice.
If you look at just what this month and a half is, like. It's, if anything, it just helps Juman. That's the reason why they put Greatest Showman and Pitch Perfect, because they have a whole month to just wait for fans to show up for it, especially if they're good stuff.
Yeah. So let's talk about Movie Pass. Do you have a Movie Pass, by the way?
I don't.
We're going to have to wrap up in a bit, but
how much time do we have left?
TB.
Sorry, you guys are good.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay,
Don't
cool.
worry about it.
So Movie Pass. I mean, I've got this. I use it sparingly because I want to buy tickets to help the industry. Do you have it?
I don't. I mean, I don't need to because I see stuff for free.
Yeah, sure. They're moving into the acquisition market, which is quite interesting. Yeah, which I saw in the last 24 hours. How do you think that? And they're going to do theatrical and VOD.
So the concept is they've gotten so much money from MoviePass right now that they can now put it
sitting on a pot.
They're sitting on a pot. It's like Netflix or Amazon type of thing.
Would you rather see acquisitions or creating new content?
Well, a new place for somewhere to go is with the Fox thing right now. We need those places. So if someone wants to come about and do it, there's nothing ever wrong with an extra buyer. I think when Summit got picked up by Lionsgate, there was a lot of people were like bummed about that. But when you have buyers at the festivals and all these things, that's a good thing. Like films like Hostels and those like indies that you don't know about in this marketplace now. They need that home. I'm all for a new buyer. What MoviePass is going for is what I'm intrigued by. Like, like when you see like Neon or you see like Annapurna, you kind of know what they're gonna try to tackle, or Amazon.
Yeah.
What is the type of film MoviePass wants to get? Is it just whatever they can get their hands on? Is it like $50 million mid-action, like those action films we were craving? Are they doing the Bright type films? Or it's like, are they going to be players that, like, it sounds like they're at Sundance, so they're going to be players at a festival.
Yeah.
I'm just curious what comes of it. But anytime we have a new buyer, I'm very intrigued.
I think for me, looking at MoviePass, if they want to start doing acquisitions, I would like them to pick a genre.
I would too.
And champion it, be it horror or action or something.
Action is the one. I like, or action comedies, just the stuff we grew up on. That like horror, because it's like it's fiscally awesome, like the Blumhouse thing. Yeah. There seems to be no
ebbs and flows. horror ebbs and flows
or
constantly.
westerns, like stuff like that, like Hostels. Like
audiences don't turn out for westerns. Though.
I still feel like studios will always want to make horror because it's no matter what, it's cheap. Like like horror is you rarely get like a $100 million horror film, and if you do, it doesn't make it to the screen. Like the Mountains of Madness that Del Toro's wanted to do for years.
Zeno Hour is asking, what are our thoughts on Amazon Studios moving away from smaller movies and towards bigger budgeted movies? I mean, by bigger budget, we're talking like 25...
50, yeah. Mid-range.
Yeah,
mid-range.
25 to 50 million.
I still think they're going to be a player at the festival. I just think that means they're going to, like, they're not going to just... Like, you only hear of Amazon-type stuff at fest. You don't hear about it on just the development side. I think this is just them trying... Like, if they're going to do 50 million type stuff, it's going to be stuff in development. Yeah. And that's a sign of, like, their new... like, the new film person, Stacey Sneider's been linked to that job. That person will oversee that type of stuff. I still feel when it comes to acquisitions, they're going to be getting, like, the Big Sick and Manchester and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Watch out for them this week on that wildlife film at Sundance.
Okay.
Jake Gyllenhaal, Carey Mulligan, Paul Dano's. I feel like that fits. That is still something they're going to want to land. So
talking of action, let's talk about Proud Mary.
That story.
Yeah, I mean that was a film that kind of came out.
You talking about the fact that Sony buried it?
Yeah.
You go first.
I
have my own.
It was Sony, but it was Screen Gems. That was not a film that was screened for critics. They were definitely pushing it to go, can you promote this movie within editorial?
Sure.
To me, that seems like a really odd... apparently, I haven't seen it, but apparently it's not a great movie. To me, it would seem like it was a very good strategic movie to place where you are riding the wave of strong female lead characters.
And they opened that on Martin
movies.
Luther King weekend, so they were aiming at a demo as well.
Absolutely. And then you're moving towards the resurgence that we're seeing right now of former blaxploitation movies and things like Superfly, Shaft, etc., etc. It seemed to me like you're moving on from last summer's Atomic Blonde, female, shifting through to that. And yet, it was not something they heralded, even if it's not a great movie. I mean, you know, The Commuter was not a great movie, but that was still pushed heavily last weekend.
I still feel like...
It just seems a bit strange to me.
Like, yeah, you can say that, listen, it's perspective. If a film isn't... If people... This happens all the time. It's not just like there's a person of color leading it, and that's only film. This films get dumped all the time. Geostorm, we'll get to, like, we'll hopefully get to that in a second. Geostorm is something that Warner Brothers dumped. It's... You know, whether and the not screening for critics that's not the first time that's happened either.
No, absolutely.
If anything, they wouldn't screen for critics if they want people to go see it. Like if they think it's bad and they don't want that negative vibe, then they're gonna not screen for critics so that the audience does show up.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's a touchy thing, but you know, I can see where someone saw that this film was. I have trouble like. You know, I don't look up the advertising sales and all that stuff, and it seemed like the Post was the one that dominated ad sales, and that makes sense because of what it was. And it probably costs more and stuff like that. And ad sales marketing costs go into the budget of the film. But you know, January is what January is. Like it can be considered a dumping ground, and sometimes there are casualties. But I think if this film was something they thought was going to kick ass, then they would have maybe slotted it differently. Once you have that product, and you know, it's like, I don't know what we have here. Yeah. Like, you know, you try to do the best and put it in January sometimes. And that long weekend as well, they tried. Like, so I don't know.
Well, they tried, but they also didn't try because there wasn't exactly a big... I mean, certainly here in LA, I saw a lot of billboards for it. I saw some adverts for it. I didn't really see the push. I didn't see the editorial flood. I didn't see that.
Well, I mean, yeah, but it's not one of those films that people are doing cover stories for either. It's just they're the same with Den of Thieves, but like, I mean, I didn't see Taraji out. Like, did she come? Like, if she come out and said, okay, that's the key here. If Taraji came out and was like, they didn't want me pushing this film, they didn't have, I've seen Gerard and Curtis and Pablo all over the place on the morning circuits, Andy Cohen, this and that. I saw Taraji nowhere, and I don't know if that has to do with her Empire shooting, but she's a lead of a film. Part of the payment she gets for her contract is the push of the movie, the selling of it. And I don't know if that was by her choice or what it was, but like, unless Taraji comes out and says they didn't want me to do this, part of that kind of has to be on the actor for not doing their job and being out there.
Harry was saying in the chat that Black Panther is going to be the Marvel blaxploitation movie. Now, do not get blaxploitation
I think they have
confused.
Yeah, I think they're mixing that up
with
with
a
all black
movie
cast.
that is an all-black cast.
Like
blaxploitation.
Tyler Perry movies all are black.
I mean, blaxploitation is a genre from the 70s and 80s. Having an all-black or predominantly black cast is not blaxploitation.
Yeah.
It is a very different genre. So do not get those, as the kids say, twisted.
I would agree with that.
Also, Zayas is saying, let's talk about the Venom stuff this week with Tom Holland.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So that story broke.
I thought you meant like the photo of Tom Hardy holding something, and we were supposed to get excited for that.
Yeah, and also apparently Tom Holland's Spider-Man is going to make some sort of appearance in Venom. Is this a way of kind of bringing in...
Sure. I mean, they would
the MCU?
Sony is... No.
Because
it's not the
previously
MCU.
Venom's been very much not an MCU movie.
So they've changed their chatter a little bit.
Yeah.
While it's not an MCU, it's absolutely not an MCU film.
Yeah.
Because Sony is involved, the Spider-Man element is a possibility. Like Venom will not be in Avengers or any of those films. This is nothing to do with that. But yeah, I feel like why not? Like, you know, if you want to do future films, I feel like Tom Holland has to be like someone to bring along. So yeah, that would make sense, especially if he's just, I think it's just like a cameo or something like that. So you set that connection up down the road, whether it means Tom Hardy's in a future Spider-Man movie. I think it would be more like he's Peter Parker or Spider-Man makes an appearance in Venom films.
Yeah.
I don't think that Venom would necessarily cross over
Into doing a thing. So we talked about very briefly Geostorm. You touched on this. I did a very candid interview with Gerard Butler to do with Den of Thieves, and I've got an interview with Curtis Jackson, Fiddy, going up on Forbes over the weekend. So it's interesting that what Gerard was saying about the fact that there are no movie stars anymore, effectively, when it comes to box office, because there are several people who have heritage at the box office who aren't having hits. People who, over the last couple of years, have been box office bankable are now not having hits. And Geostorm, he basically did for shits and giggles.
Yeah, it's called the Payday
just
movie.
because,
Paycheck movie.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he it's interesting, and again, the whole thing I spoke about with Curtis this week was the fact that Curtis looks at his movies as 60% maths, 40%
Very
material.
businessman savvy.
Very much so.
Which isn't uncommon among
Did
actors.
you know that he filmed a Jekyll and Hyde movie with him and Forrest Whitaker, directed by Abel Ferreira?
I know Curtis did like he had like a deal with Emmett Furlow where he was doing a bunch of like almost
they
like
filmed
him
a
and
load of that
Bruce
stuff.
Willis did a bunch of those things.
Yeah.
So.
And so that's filmed. That's sitting in a vault. It's basically hasn't
he's
been
got
released.
a bunch of those, yeah.
Yeah. And there was another movie that again, this is going to come out in the Forbes article this weekend. There's a number of other movies that he's done that are literally just are sitting in a vault at Fiddy's house.
I mean,
that have never become anything. But he's stockpiling these projects that, if they don't become movies, he could then trot them out as
Netflix or something. Like
Netflix or serials or TV shows, where he's reworking with part of his deal with Stars and Lionsgate and stuff like that.
I mean, you know, he's very busy. This is the guy that sold like it gives like Dwayne Johnson like all the credit for what he does marketing wise. The stuff 50's been doing for Den of Thieves is he's been all over the place, and he's very funny about it too. So I shout out for him for just making the push, especially since Den of Thieves. He comes off more as a supporting player than like
he's given very little to do in that movie.
Yeah, so
he is very.
But that said,
very
he
minor.
still treats it as a baby. So like, more power to him.
So Geostorm, did you actually see that movie?
No, did you?
No, I didn't.
I don't know how many people did.
No, I mean I really wanted to see it.
I saw enough in the trailers. I didn't need to pay for that.
Yeah, I think fundamentally that is basically the movie, but it's got a lot of love. I mean, I spoke to Gerard about this as well. The fact that there are certain movies of his, Geostorm and Dracula 2000. Which have now kind of crossed the line between being not successful movies, but they've become almost cult status movies, where they are guilty pleasures and cheese. And he's totally fine with the fact that some of his movies have crossed that line. Gamer's another one. Gamer's not a movie he's very proud of.
I don't even remember Gamer.
It was out like 9 years ago.
Okay.
It was not a successful movie. There you go. So this weekend, what have you got coming up? Have you got a couple of scoops to pop on Variety?
Not Saturday or Sunday, but you never know. Fridays it all depends. It's when someone calls and says this thing's moving forward. I have a lot on my plate. Yeah, there'll be some good ones coming in the next week, I feel like. But yeah, we'll wait and see. I never like making promises just because stuff happens so often that I had no idea the Flash would come together that quickly.
Yeah.
And I had no idea certain things would hold. Jessica Chastain and Octavia Spencer doing this holiday film.
Yeah.
Like, in the vein of Plane, Trains, and Automobile at Universal. That was like 2 weeks I was holding that. So, like, they take a while. So
that'll be very watchable.
They were great together in The Help. They were the best part of The Help, those two together. And they got Oscar nominated for it, and Octavia won. So, obviously, people want to see them again.
So, I assume we're looking at a 2019 release.
It depends on their schedule if they shoot. I know both of them are very busy, so it's just the script's not even written yet. So we'll see when that happens. But comedies can come together pretty quickly, so we'll see.
So we have the SAG Awards and the PGAs this weekend.
Do we have PGA?
PGAs, Producer Guild Awards, Saturday.
Is PGA Saturday? I thought that was a week ago or a week away. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think everybody's very interested about what happens with Franco.
Yeah.
I feel like because of that role, it's a very actor-friendly role, and that people might want to celebrate it. Now, with the recent allegations, we'll see if he shows. We'll see what happens. And same goes for Oscar. I think for Oscars, the actor award is very, very interesting. I do not think Denzel somehow like Roman Israel died on the vine. I think that's his worst flop in years, if not ever. Daniel Kaluuya, he's a good actor, but if you're gonna give him a nomination, might as well give Allison Williams and Bradley Whitford one as well. Yeah, and Catherine Keener. And now Franco. If those allegations came soon enough, if people were seeing those, and that came into voting, Gary Oldman and Timothy Chalamet seem like the only locks right now. So maybe that opens up for our boy Jake Gyllenhaal and Stronger.
Absolutely.
Hugh Jackman and Logan. I mean, there could be some surprises in Best Actor. As for what wins on Sunday, I want to say Lady Bird would be my guess. But I think Three Billboards.
Okay.
Since they've got a lot of nominations, I think that also means Francis.
Shape of Water is really coming through as a front runner.
Why?
In a lot of, I mean, I was reading a piece on Variety.
But why is it the front runner?
It's
there's nobody that's voted yet. Like votes for the Academy has critics don't vote. Globe the Globe hype is so overhyped. Let's wait till after this weekend when PGA and if Shape wins both of those. Yeah. Then we can start talking about it. But if it does nothing, like if Francis beats Sally, and Richard doesn't win anything then the SAG, that's over. And then if Get Out or Lady Bird, or if I think Lady Bird would take the PGA if I had to guess right now. Yeah. Or Three Billboards. If Three Billboards wins, that's the thing too. I think right now Three Billboards is your front runner.
Okay.
But again, it doesn't matter because until the Guild Awards come out, those are the people that vote. So we'll see. But who do you think any surprises?
I mean, I think it's going to be for best film. I think either Shape of Water,
which award?
For the SAGs.
SAG.
I think Lady Bird. And there's.
Wait, so you're gonna go which one? I'm confused.
I'm gonna go with Shape of Water.
You think Shape of Water wins?
Yeah, I think I think he's gonna.
I don't think it's an acting thing, so that's why I don't think that. I think there's with Lady Bird and Three Billboards. First of all, they've just gotten more nominations, so that's why I would go with those two. But if Shape wins the SAG, that's a big sign that people are going to be voting for it on Oscar night. So I would agree with that. PGA, I'm assuming you're going to go Shape of Water.
Yeah, I'm gonna go.
Okay, yeah. I'm going Lady Bird. Or no, I'm sorry, Three Billboards. Okay. But we'll see. It's such a weird year. It's so hard to predict these things because when we say frontrunners, Jeff said the DGA, those 5 films that got nominated for DGA, Get Out, Lady Bird, Dunkirk, Three Billboards, and Shape of Water seem to be our frontrunners. And I would agree all 5 of those have a chance to win. So Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. This is the time now where we start. The front runners come to the Guild Awards are the people that can vote for the Academy. Globes and all these critics, you rarely have them also voting for Academy. So this is where you start. The field starts open. Like you start seeing the field.
Sure. I mean, for me, Dunkirk, I don't think it's going to get Best Director, or I don't think it's going to get Best Picture.
Nomination?
I mean, win.
Oh, I think it's. I think it's the front runner for director.
Really?
Oh, absolutely.
See, I would disagree.
The movie made absolutely. I think people are like underestimating, and this love for Del Toro. It's like Social Network that one year. It was winning all those awards, and then it got shut out.
Yeah.
The clearing's gonna come where people that. Dunkirk is far from. It's definitely could win director. It's between him and Del Toro. Those are the only two it's up for. All the other ones are not big directing things. I feel like if Del Toro won, it wouldn't surprise me, but we'll see.
Yeah. Okay, so Justin, where can we find you online?
Again, Justin at Variety.com. You can read all my scoops, and Kroll J Var on Twitter.
And you can find me at Showbiz Simon on Twitter and Instagram. And this is Simon Thompson on Facebook. And you can see my work pretty much everywhere. Jeff is going to be away again next week, so I will be back in the hot seat. Thank you so much for joining us this week.
Always a pleasure.
If you like the show, like, subscribe, and tell all your friends, because we like sharing. Unless it's cake, then I'll eat that. Have a good week, everybody.
See ya.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of its owners or principals.